Welcome back to the Money Script Podcast. It's your host, Johanse Harrison. So happy to be here with each and every one of you today. As I mentioned, I'm going to keep saying it over and over, bringing the heat this summer. Well, and it's also hot. I am super excited for our guest today. And this is someone that I've been waiting to talk to for, probably like 6 months. He's a busy man all over the world. Yes, he is internationally known, locally recognized and accepted. I have Rashid, the Car Gawd. Yes, I said it right, Gawd. We're going to get to that a little bit later. But again, it's me, CEO, founder of Money Script Wealth Management. As a financial advisor, it has been a very busy time for those of us in this profession because we are going through what we think is the next recession. I mean, jury's still out on that, but some of us are already starting to feel the effects. Of course, we're dealing with all this inflation, which has been hammering some of your purses and pocketbooks and wallets lately. And we're going to talk a little bit about that with Rashid because he's in the car business, which has dealt with some unprecedented changes over these last couple of years. But I don't want to keep you waiting because this guy, he's actually on his way to catch a flight to, again, leave the country. So let's go ahead and jump in and let's talk to Rashid. We can talk about some of those money aspects later. So Rashid, welcome to the Money Script Podcast. How you doing, my man?
Man, I'm fabulous. Thanks for having me, man. I need to hire you permanently for all my introductions, man.
Hey now.
I'm looking around like, hey, who else is coming back? Who else is coming out with me? Because this is.
Hey, we all have a price. We can talk about that. Oh man, I appreciate having you. So I just want to jump in. Let's start with the title you have as the Car Gawd. Talk to us a little bit about that. What does it mean to be a car gawd?
Man, it's just an all-around automotive specialist, man. And I've been in the car business since 2013. And you know how majority of nicknames or AKAs and all that stuff kind of comes up typically from our neighborhood and the way we, were raised in the Black community for the most part. It's all from your cousins, your mom and them, friends, and all that kind of stuff who gives you nicknames. And, people will call me all the time and just ask me general automotive questions and stuff like that. And then it's just kind of stuck. One of my buddies started calling me the Car Gawd because I knew the answers to everything about cars and the whole 9 yards from the front to the back. So that's just kind of, how that all happened. And I just kind of ran with that and then just been doing it ever since.
So help the listeners a little bit. So what do you do as the Car Gawd? Are you a consultant or tell us what it is you do?
Well, man, I actually do. I handle all things car related from A to Z. And I do consulting for those who just want my consultation that are, far reaching all over the world that'll call me just to do a consult. But I'm also a full vehicle concierge. I do everything from purchasing to I help the financing, shipping. I even help sell your vehicle, trade, leasing, the whole 9 yards. So I'm a one-stop shop. I help those who don't have the time nor interest to go through the traditional mode that we've all been kind of familiar with in buying cars. I make it a lot less taxing, and I make it effortless and do everything most times remotely and send everything to your doorstep, including your car. I come pick up your car if I'm selling it, paperwork in hand, and make it pretty easy. So I take care of all the heavy lifting.
That was easy.
Okay. Well, we got some things to talk about on a personal level, but before we get to that,
Sure.
I want to cover some topics that a lot of my clients have been asking me about, and it's just something that I noticed that happened during the pandemic, and it's quite simply that the price of used cars went through the roof. I mean, they were driving our inflation numbers.
Sure.
And then because of supply chains, there weren't enough new cars. I mean, we just had this unprecedented event in the automotive industry. And I think one of the most surprising of it all was I had clients that had purchased, or I guess purchase isn't the right word, but they had engaged in a lease relationship starting in, say, 2018 or 2019. And then their lease came due in 2021 or 2022, and this incredible phenomenon happened, and that was that their residual value, the price that they could purchase the car for, was less than the
Than the
cost of that
market.
car on the road. It was incredible, and it's still happening. And so,
Yeah.
listeners, hear me now. If you are in a lease and you got that lease prior to the pandemic, and you are below your mileage and you took good care of the car, there is a pretty good chance that the cost of your vehicle on the open market is more than the price that you would have to pay for it if you want to buy it from your leaseholder. Have you seen that to be true as well?
Yeah, 100%. So that's definitely been the case. There's a couple different scenarios that people can take advantage of as a lessor, and I've always been a huge advocate for leasing, especially with scenarios such as this. Now, no one ever foreseen or foresaw that this was going to be this crazy. I've never seen anything like this in the car business, and obviously I've been doing it since 2013. But I've been into cars in general since when we had the economic crash and things of that nature. But I don't think we'll ever see anything like this again. But to your point, the lease gives you a lot of benefits and it gives you a lot of protection, because once you buy that vehicle, it is a guaranteed residual at the time of signing. So basically what you can buy that car for at the end of your lease term, right? And money factors of the market have nothing to do with that, because that's been a contract between you and the lease company since you first got it. So if you bought that car before all of inflation, you bought it at a normal price point or even got it discounted, you're in the catbird seat. So you get a lot of advantages with leasing, because a lot of people think when the lease is up, you have to turn the car back in to who you got it from and the same manufacturer and things of that nature. You have tons of options. So to one of those options, like you said, look at the market. You could always sell that car and possibly make money. I've had tons of clients who decided to sell and take advantage of the marketplace,
That's what we
because
did. We
you
did
have
that.
that car. Right. There you go. So people don't know that they can do that. And I tell people, in the simplest terms, with a lease, you have all the rights and privileges of ownership minus the responsibility. Minus the
Mm.
responsibility part, I can just turn it in and walk away. As long as I'm under my miles and the car's not beat up, I don't have to pay anything. I just turn it in and walk away. But the privileges of ownership is, hey, I can sell that car. It's got a payoff on it just like any other vehicle. I can sell it and then just pay off the lease company, which is and then keep and walk away, sell it, make my money. Or the third thing that what people were doing, let's say for instance, you didn't want to sell the car because it's a trick bag. You sell the car, you take advantage of the marketplace, and you make all this money. But now what do? You have to go buy a car. Now
Gotta
you're
buy
trying to
one.
buy a car with inflation. So now you just lost your advantage, because yes, you made money, but now you're going to spend all the money buying this new car in this inflated marketplace. So another thing that I advise my clients to do who didn't have multiple cars, that they could just sell one and take advantage of getting that the equity out. They're like, no, I need a car and I don't want to turn it in because these cars are super expensive. Then you could just buy your lease. And then you are buying your lease below this inflated market, better than any other car, any other used car you could go out there and buy. And plus it's yours. You've been the one driving it. So it's used to you. It's your car. So it's not necessarily used. It's just your car. You buy it out, you're good. And then when things change, you bought that car in a great situation and you can still reap the benefits down the road.
No, you said something there. There was a play on words there. I don't know if you caught what you said, but you
I
said
probably
your
didn't.
lease is used to you, aka used to you. You're used to that car
Exactly.
already.
Yep. Yep.
So there's no reason to go out and, like you said, go buy something else on the inflated market. So again, listeners, if you are in a lease and that lease is coming due in the coming months, before you just go and turn those keys over, do some research, find out what the going price point is, what the market is on your leased vehicle. You can go to different websites to do this. Cars.com, what's the other, Motor Trend, or there's a few different websites that are out there. There's the one in orange. I can't think of the name of them. Car Guru, something there. Anyways,
Yeah,
there's
for
just
sure.
sites that you can go and
And
you can look. Go ahead.
and on top of that though, but people, just this market, like I said, is bananas. That's great information for people who lease, because people don't know all of their rights and privileges in leasing. But as you know, people who bought cars and retailed them had the same advantages in this marketplace. Because stuff was so overinflated. But and then there's always those issues, the pluses and minuses of the taxes and the tax codes and stuff like that for SUVs. It's still a great thing that people could take advantage of as well.
Oh yeah, I drive a heavy vehicle, so I'm well aware of those tax
Yeah,
advantages. So
yeah,
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 so again, if you have a lease, before you turn those keys in, do some research. Find out,
yeah, for sure.
does it make sense for you to just to buy out the lease that you have, or what we did. So we were in a position, we had a lease coming due, and I saw what the market did, and it just so happens that the Kia that my wife had was there weren't many of them made, and she had got some, I can't even remember which Kia she had, but it had this red stitching and heating and cool seats and all this fabulous stuff. And what we did is we just went to CarMax. I went to CarMax and said, CarMax, make me an offer I can't refuse. And
Right.
CarMax made us an offer that was well above the residual cost of the vehicle, and they cut us a check, and we gave them the
Yeah.
keys. And my wife was looking at checks. What is this? I was like, quick, let's go before they realize what they've done. Um, but it was our intention to go and get something else. But then we had the same problem, is that when we went to go get the next vehicle, I had to really, really shop because everything was so expensive. So I had
Correct.
to do the best negotiating I could, and still kind of walked away like, man, I paid more for this than I would have paid a year and a half ago, just because of inflation. But hey, we needed a new vehicle. So I appreciate just adding some color to that, Rashid. And again, for those of you that are in the market and you need some help with this, I'm going to make sure Rashid's information is in the show notes, so that he can be a good resource for you. So I want to switch gears a little bit, and let's just talk about exotics a bit.
Sure.
And not only exotics, but also upgrading your vehicle, adding the different fancy items. How have you seen that market, the exotic market, change since the pandemic?
Man, just as crazy, if not even more crazy, because think about exotic and ultra luxury vehicles. They've always had a low production number anyway. So they've never ever really been mass produced on assembly lines and stuff like that. They're 99% of them are all handmade. That's why you pay so much money for them, and they come from outside the U.S. So they already were low production numbers, and you cut that in half, it's still the economics 101, supply and demand. So those cars were going well over, like if it's a pre-owned car, they were going well over their original MSRP, and then the new cars.
Sounds
Then
like
the new car,
you're in your office, Rashid.
something like that. Exactly, in the car. That's always my office, for sure. But yeah, man. And then some. I mean, like Lamborghini. Let's say the Lamborghini Urus, the SUV, which is beautiful truck and blah blah blah, highly sought after for those in that lane. I mean, they were going $50,000-$70,000 over the MSRP.
Wow.
And then there's a list a mile long of people who would buy that car in a heartbeat. So no longer no longer negotiations and, well, I'll do this if you do this. None of that stuff is in play anymore. And I tell people that's from a Hyundai to a helicopter right now. It's yeah, and it's crazy because if you don't want it, guess what? These people are doing now. It's supply and demand. It's a seller market. Okay, you don't want it. You want to negotiate with me? No problem. I'll go to the next guy who won't. He'll just write a check or do the financing on it. So that's one of the hardest things that I've had to get some of my clients' heads wrapped around, because they were used to 3 years ago going in the dealership. Yeah, I beat the guy up and he gave me $5,000 off this. I got this, and and everybody thinks it's always like, oh, that'll never happen to me. We all hear, if I step off a curb and get hit by a bus, oh, that'll never happen to me. People still feel that way about that market. This market doesn't care. This market, it's a seller's market, and that's what people are having. Sometimes it's hard for them to get used to. But heck, we're paying gas for higher prices than we're used to. What do we go in the gas station and renegotiate the pricing for gas? No, it's just inflation. It's the market we're in.
In the great words of Fat Joe, Yesterday's price is not
Not today's
today's
price.
price.
100%.
Okay. Oh man, he said that so well. He needs to teach an economics class. So I was I say was past tense. I was a driver of Range Rovers for years.
Okay.
I was a Range Rover owner for 15 years. Three different
Okay,
Range
great.
Rovers,
Yeah, I
and
had a couple myself.
the last one that got totaled, I said this happened in February of this year, and I was just devastated. It only had, I think I was just approaching 100,000 miles on it, and my last one had 170,000 miles on it. So I was ready to ride it till the wheels fell off, and somebody decided to knock them off. But so I went to the market and I was like, all right, well, let me go find another Range Rover. And like you said, I always purchase used. I was never a new car buyer because I always said I'll take gently used.
Yep.
And I'd always make sure I get it checked out by a mechanic. And I had some rules that I set myself for the number of years, number of owners, number of miles, etc., Carfax, all that fun stuff. So I put all my parameters in the search, and it came back with like 5 vehicles. And I was like, well, this is odd. I was like, well, let me expand my search. Let me go beyond, my 500 miles. Let me use, 1,000, 1,500 miles, and added like 2 cars. I'm like, what is going on? And then I'm looking at the prices, and the prices for the used Range Rovers, as you stated, were above the MSRP, and it was used. I was like, wait, hold on. I was prepared to find a $80,000 Range Rover for 60, 65. That's what was in my head. Instead, I was finding what was originally an $80,000 Range Rover, something that's 2, 3, maybe 4 years old. Instead, I was finding those $80,000 Range Rovers for $85,000 and $88,000. And I just could. I was like, no, I'm not going to pay over MSRP for used vehicles. Like that makes no sense. But because there were so few, like you said, economics 101, supply and demand, low supply, high demand. The price goes to the highest bidder. That's just how it goes. So with that, I did decide that I would just buy new. Now I didn't buy a new Range Rover. I said to switch it up. Now that I'm a Texan, I said it's time for me to have a pickup truck, because I was tired of my Range Rover just being full of pine needles and Christmas trees.
That's Texas limo, man, a pickup truck.
Texas limo. So yes, I didn't know that. Yeah. Texas. So yes, I went and got a Texas limo. So I'm in need to get your help on it, because I did purchase it new. My brother-in-law works at a GM dealer, so I ordered it from him. Took 5 months to get here.
Yep.
Every other month they're like, it'll be here next month. It'll be here next month. So it finally arrived last week, and I flew out to Vegas because he's in Vegas, and I decided to test drive it home. I was like, I'll put 1,500 miles on it real quick. I'll know if I like it or not. I love it. It's great. However, it needs a little bit of love. It doesn't have like the, what do you call it? The sideboards, the step boards.
Yep.
Yep. I need to get some of those. The system is okay. I mean, I like good music. It does have Bose speakers in it, but it feels like it's just not getting enough power. So I'm gonna have to step that up a little bit. Now the dash is great. I like the dash. They got this new like 13-inch or 11-inch screen in the dash. So that's pretty cool. But like I said, it needs a little bit of love. So I'm gonna have to come. Once you get back in town, I might have to just take a trip. You're in Houston, right?
Correct. Yep.
All right. So I'm gonna have to just drive it down to Houston, and you can. I'm sure you have a shop you can drop me off at and let them keep it for the day.
Oh yeah, I got a couple guys that knock all that stuff out. I send all my clients to.
Indeed. So, yeah, I need those rails that like lower and come up. When I open the door.
Yeah. So that was part of. So sometimes I don't know if you intentionally ordered it like that, or that's a part of this supply shortage. So a lot of people with these new vehicles that typically would have a lot of like the power running boards and stuff like that, it was due to the computer chip shortage.
Yep, so it said it would cause delays if I was told not to add too much stuff to it. As a matter of fact, it wasn't completely ready. So right now, the beeping noise it'll make if you get too close to something.
Yeah.
So that chip is missing.
Yeah, sometimes they're gonna retrofit it after the fact when that stuff comes in, because they just can't continue to just sit on these cars and not sell them. So as long as they pass all the safety bells and whistles, they're gonna release them and then get you to come back in when some of that stuff comes in. So yeah, that's part of what's going on. And this computer chip shortage has gone on for a while. I would have hoped by now the U.S. would have we would have found some sort of way to manufacture that stuff here on our home soil.
Well, we're
But
working on it. No, we're working on it. It's just the ramp up
still
just takes
dragging their
time.
feet. Yeah.
Well, no, the ramp up takes time. It's like planting a tree. I mean, you plant an orange tree today, you're not going to get oranges tomorrow. You got to go a season. So it's the same thing with the chips. You got to find it. You got to have the plant. I mean, we have some chip manufacturers here. We have Texas Instruments is a big one that's here. There's another big one whose name I'm not thinking of. Forgive me for forgetting about you. But the truth of the matter is the majority of our chips are manufactured in China.
Absolutely.
So
and I don't know if you know, a lot of people don't know even what happened to the chip manufacturer in China. Because like I said, like the Texas Instruments and the local technology companies we have here, they've been sitting on the technology. It's not like they're reinventing the wheel. That's kind of like sitting on a COVID vaccine. We've had that for a long time. So what happens is, it happened in China is, car manufacturers are all about the bottom line. What's the cheapest way we can get this stuff produced and put it in our vehicles to save money? So I would say, let's say 80% of the world's car manufacturers use this one company for these chips. And that chip, one, they had shortages because obviously, factually, we know that Asia was a hotbed for, the virus. That's just a fact, regardless of how politically people want to slant it. So they were shut down for that. And then the main manufacturer or that plant burned to the ground. And that's the thing with, stuff like that. It just shows we put all our eggs in one basket and no contingency plan if something like that were to happen, because life happens. And now, it screwed up the supply chain for a lot of computer chips. So anyway.
And yes. All right. So let's switch gears. I know you got to hop on a flight, and we got to get to one of the main parts of our show is where, with all of our guests, we like to ask them about their money script. Okay. And so a money script is just, it is your relationship that you have with money and how you think about money and how you make financial decisions. And for a lot of us, these scripts and these relationships are developed at a very young age. We're very impressionable at a young age. And when we notice from our parents, grandparents, siblings, whoever, the amount of energy and emotion that goes into financial decisions, it can leave a lasting impression upon us. So the question we have for you, Rashid, is that you can recall, what was your first memory of money?
Man, it's so funny that you asked me that, because I'm actively right now teaching my 9-year-old about financial literacy, money management, and just having an overall knowledge of how money works, man. So you're right on part there. So for me, growing up, and I talk about this with buddies of mine, I wasn't necessarily sat down and taught about money management, financial literacy. And it's not that my parents didn't want to, they just didn't know how to, because it wasn't necessarily passed down to them. So for us, I saw it from my grandfather. I saw how he had great credit and never liked paying interest and always had money. And he had a 5th grade education. And that's who my clothing line's actually named after, Nelson Barquet, who's one of my heroes. He was just a life role model for me and just all things life, basically. But anyway, I saw how he treated money and how conservative he was, but also at the same time, he still enjoyed life. So I saw that, but I never got taught the lessons of how that actually can be put in place. Does that make sense?
It does.
So on top of that, I would see him, see my mother, see my father, how they, dealt with money and things like that. But some of that was just kind of self-taught, man. And it's unfortunate because I've had, growing up, I had, to learn some of that stuff the hard way and take some bumps and bruises. And I'm at this point now where I refuse to let that happen with my son. So we're actively working on knowing the difference between assets and liabilities, and you buy assets then to pay for your liabilities and things of that nature. And we're talking about that so I can now start that cycle for him to pass on as well, because I wasn't necessarily taught it.
Generational wealth.
Mine was learned off of trial and error.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hello? I said, no, I'm just saying mine was learned off of trial and error for the most part.
Got it. Well, I was saying that generational wealth is more than money in a bank account. Generational wealth is more than a house. Generational wealth is more than a life insurance policy. Generational wealth is rooted in education.
Yep.
Generational wealth is rooted in financial literacy. And Rashid, I got something for you. You got to check out. I'll send you a link for it. We just got our copy of it. One of our previous guests, Jasmine, she wrote a book called The Wealth Playground. And it's a kids money book series. And we were a contributor of the Kickstarter program. So my daughter's books just showed up last week. We haven't dove into the workbooks yet, but it came with there was actually a bedtime story book. I can't think of the name of it, Grandma's Camera or something, Granny's Camera. But she read that with her grandmother. So I thought that was kind of cute. So I haven't taken a look at it, but it's any tool that's out there that can help engage children in the conversation. And parents, it's got to come from us. We can't depend on the school system. And don't worry if you don't know a lot. Guess what? You and your child can learn together.
Okay?
Yeah. Can learn 100%. Together. And that is one of the best ways to learn.
I think that's certain things that parents would sometimes feel bad about, not knowing enough. Well, I can't teach. Well, there's tools and resources for you to do that. Because the worst thing you can do is not do it because you feel insecure. That's not helping your child. What are we here to do as parents? We're here to educate them and, hey, suck it up to better our children. And sometimes, that in business, I talk and I do sales coaching and stuff like that. The biggest and most hurdle that we have is just starting. You got to start somewhere. You got to do it. You got to try it. Because if you don't, then you'll find every excuse in the book not to do certain things.
It's you just again, like you said, just got to start somewhere. All right, well, Rashid, I know you got to go hop on a plane, the jet setter that you are. Do us a favor. Tell all the guests where they can find you.
Sure, man. I appreciate it. Again, I appreciate the opportunity and the time. We have to do this again so I can jump on camera and do it the right way. So I'm looking forward to having a chat again soon. But
I'm coming to Houston, and I'm gonna have my son meet me with his camera crew, and we're gonna do a whole thing on my truck. That's what we're gonna do.
Oh, I love it. Oh yeah. Do that. Oh yeah, absolutely. So they can find me
do like a little coffee conversation while the trucks get work on, and he'll do that. Yeah, we'll have some fun with it.
Yeah, I love that. So you can find me on Instagram, first of all, at Rashid_the Car Gawd. That's GAWD. And also on Facebook at just my normal name, Rashid Floyd, as well as LinkedIn. And then my other social media handles are the clothing line NB for Nelson Barquet _clothing, as well as Car Gawd's Auto Gallery. That's my dealership. I am a licensed dealer as well. So that's where you can find me and, tap in with me. And a lot of people think I only sell exotic and ultra luxury vehicles. That is not the case. I sell everything. I just have a specialized area that I focus on, but I sell anything with 4 wheels and an engine, or an electric engine for that matter.
Oh, we didn't talk. That's what we got to talk about next time. We didn't talk about electric and that whole thing. Oh man. Yeah. We have other stuff to talk. Cause I get a lot of questions from clients on the economics of the electric vehicle.
Sure.
And we'll save that for, hey, got a reason for you to come back season 4. Rashid, again, I appreciate you taking a moment from the office. Again, he's Car Gawd.
Right.
He's in his mobile office and took some time for us today. We appreciate you, sir. Everybody, please share this with a friend. Give us your reviews on what is it called? Apple, Spotify, wherever it is that you're listening to this. Let the people know that you're enjoying this, because I enjoy bringing this to all of you, and my guests enjoy bringing this to you. And we enjoy giving you this information, and we hope, as Rashid says, that you do something with it, okay? We all start somewhere. Why not start today? With that, thank you for joining us on the Money Script Podcast. We will see you next time.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for joining us on the Money Script Podcast. Be sure to check out our other episodes, subscribe, follow, and give us 5 stars. Continue to send your financial questions on Twitter or Instagram at The Money Script. Go to moneyscriptwealth.com and schedule your complimentary consultation to discuss your specific goals and concerns. Financial advisory and investment management services are offered by MoneyScript Wealth Management PLLC, a registered investment advisory firm registered in the state of Texas and California and other states where exempt. The MoneyScript LLC and the MoneyScript Wealth Management PLLC and guests of the episode may have interest in the investments mentioned today. The opinions and views are expressed here are for informational purposes only. This material is educational in nature and should not be deemed as a solicitation for any specific product or service. All investments involve risk and a significant loss of principal. The MoneyScript nor MoneyScript Wealth Management offer tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney for specific advice about your situation. Until next time.